photographing the way I do, but with my colors, this will change everything.
I got to see each frame, each position of its wing, and they're so beautiful that I have never seen before.
Being able to move quickly and working at my brain's pace and getting those shots in the moment. Having this camera allows you to go out and create the way you want to create.
Until you use it, you cannot even imagine what you have missed.
It's something I've never seen before in my entire life. It's something totally different.
Nikon Z6 III. Outperform.
Introducing ISO Color Edge. Precision is essential for any professional working with images. Whether you're an artist, a retoucher, or a visual effects specialist, you need to know that what you see at the start of a project is precisely what you'll get at the end. Color Edge monitors give consistent, reliable accuracy that guarantee no surprises within your color workflow. So what you see in real life is what you see on screen, and what you see on screen is what you see in real life. That's precisely why professionals all over the world trust ISO Color Edge for their image creation. ISO Color Edge. Discover living, breathing color.
I'm Mark Rizzetto from the Professional Photography Business Network.
A vibrant community from all around the world who's here to supercharge your business growth.
This is not an expensive one-size-fits-all course.
PPBN is a network,
an online educational platform with training and resources to suit everyone.
from those just starting out to the seasoned pros.
You can tailor your journey to suit your individual business needs and challenges, all at your own pace.
And there's new content added every week. But success is only part of the experience.
To us, community is super important, as we all know business can be lonely.
So join us today. PPBN is your unfair advantage. Let's do this.
Hey everybody, welcome to the judging of the sport category for the 2026 Australian Photographic Prize. Thanks for joining us. You're going to see some amazing sport images tonight. And one of the special things is this is a new category for us. We didn't have the sport category last year. Last year, our documentary category had such a huge volume of great quality sport images that we promoted it into its own category. So this is the first time we're running a sport category, and you're here for it, which is great. I'm here today on behalf of our competition director, Daniel Bingham. We also have Nathan, our broadcast producer, who is on duty tonight. Daniel is doing triple duty, as well as being our competition director and the tech guy. He is our scribe for the night. So he's reading out all the complex place names and stuff like that. We'll find out how complex it is. Now, super important for us is a thank you for our sponsors. Our sponsors, without their support, we couldn't do what we do. So thank you guys. A huge thank you to our major sponsor, Nikon Australia. Our overall Australian winner wins Nikon product valued up to $5,000, which is a fabulous prize. Thanks, Nikon. Also, Azo, it will be gifting the Australian runner-up a Color Edge CS 2731, and that's worth $2,000. So whoever comes second is going to win that, which is amazing. And our overall international winner, they also walk away with something, a 12-month membership to the Professional Photographers Business Network, and that's valued at $1,000. So thanks PPBN for that. Those are really good prizes. And again, guys, we couldn't do this without your support sponsors, so thank you. Now, tonight, we're here to judge the top 31 images in the sport category, which means we had a tie for 30th place. So you get to see 31. So sport category is images capturing the passion, emotion, and athleticism of athletic activities and sports of all grades and codes. And this belongs to our classic post-production rules, which means entrants can beautify the image with some basic retouching. And you could, remove blemishes from the skin and that sort of thing. But images have to remain reasonably authentic. You can't use composite techniques to add or remove significant elements. You can't duplicate elements, that sort of thing. If you want to read the full rules, head to the Australian Photographic Prize site. Now, in our session today, we have an expert panel of judges, and you're going to meet them shortly. They're going to assess every image. Every image is going to get a score out of 100. We'll have a comment for every image. And then in some cases, we're going to have a challenge too, where we'll discuss the image in more detail and then invite our judges to rescore. Now, when our session is complete, we're going to move to closed door judging, and that's where the panel will deliberate to determine the winner from our highest scoring images. Now, if you're curious about who wins, you've got to come to our awards ceremony on August the 13th, where we'll show our winner, our second and third Australian image in this category, as well as the winning international image. And then we'll also reveal the overall division and overall winners as well. Our judges don't find out who wins at the end of this process tonight. They have to wait to the awards ceremony like everybody else. Now, in a moment, we're going to introduce you to this really cool panel that we have. It's a really international panel. But first up, let's have a look at our top 31 images in sport. So Daniel, take it away. Wow, that's a pretty cool set of images. As you're looking through that, if you're going, hey, some of those look like they've had crazy composite work, they haven't. We have vetted every single one of these images. So everything you're seeing does belong to that classic post-production group, which means minimal post-production. So that's super cool. All right, let's introduce you to our judges. We've got a fantastic panel of judges for you tonight. We're going to start off with Adam Horrigan.
Hi, everybody. My name's Adam Horrigan. I live in northern New South Wales in Australia. I was a newspaper photographer for 30 years, and including photographed many national and international sporting events like the Commonwealth Games, State of Origin, Australian Open tennis, and other things. But I spent a fair chunk of my time as well photographing local sport. I think the great thing about sport, and if anybody's trying to draw some inspiration from this, is that just get out on the weekend and go and see your local sport. There's just as much action out there, and it's all the passion and everything that makes this such a great category. So I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome, Adam. Now, Christopher Ian, you won't be able to see Christopher's face because Zoom has not been kind to us today, but we do have his voice. So, Christopher, why don't you introduce yourself?
I usually say I've been a professional photographer since 1981, but my efforts in sports photography predate that because my university job was intentionally to become a cleaner at the Australian Open so I could have a locker with a suit and a camera. So as soon as I'd finished my work, I would put the suit on, grab the camera and walk out to centre court with all the photographers. I did it every day. They just assumed I was part of the scenery, and I did it for 3 years. It was just a different world back then.
Well, that's really cool, Christopher. I've not heard that story before, and I hope none of the authorities are tuning into our broadcast tonight. Otherwise, maybe the statute of limitations is over. I don't know. We'll see. That was cool. Now, no one. I want to hear stories that are going to beat that. Emily, do you have one that's going to beat that?
Raise the bar like pretty high. Um, I'm Emily. I'm from Melbourne, Victoria, in Australia. Um, I have been in the industry for 25 years. I started in photojournalism, and part of that initiation into press photography was sport. I love the decisive moment. I love the stories that can be told in one frame. I'm passionate about telling people's stories and getting right in amongst the action. During my day job, I photograph a lot of trail running and adventure sports. So that's my great passion and great love.
Awesome. Thanks, Emily. James Musselwhite joining us from, where are you? Where in the world?
I'm in the UK. I'm James. I'm from the UK. I started my photography journey back in 2001, photographing at the prestigious Swanage and Warren Rugby Club, which amassed as many as 53 fans on a Saturday afternoon to watch some rugby union. One of my first awards in photography came from photographing the Rose in June annual Egg and Spoon race. So fair warning, if you've entered something from the egg and spoon race category, I may be showing some favoritism tonight.
Oh boy. Now, you know what, we're always on the lookout for new categories as well. Egg and spoon race could be a new one for 2027. So we'll see what we can do, Daniel. Matt Palmer, over to you.
Yeah, so I'm Matt, based in Victoria. I am the former creative director of Brisbane Royal Football Club for all the football fans in Australia, and also photographed Muay Thai for about 5 years. In terms of interesting stories, I have had a stadium chant about me before, but you'll have to come to my IRIS presentation to work out exactly what they were chanting.
Oh, I'm going to be at that. Excellent. So that's Iris is the New Zealand photo show from the NZIPP, which is in about 2 weeks' time. So if you now there's going to be so many more tickets sold because I want to find out what happened. Matt, Matthew Vasilescu, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Matthew Vasilescu, yes, from Sydney in Australia. And I, like Adam and Emily, started my career in local press and local media, covering lots of local junior sport, as well as national rugby leagues and international sport when it came to town. And it was always the biggest challenge, because finding that decisive moment in a roll of 36 film and reloading it to find it again and to find it again and then to process that in a dark room at the end of the day was always a challenge.
Awesome. That's cool, Matthew. Let's go to last and never least, the man with the best eyebrows in the business, Scott Johnson.
Good evening, everybody. I'm going to do my eyebrows as I talk. My name's Scott Johnson. I'm based here in the United Kingdom, just north of where James is living. Predominantly photograph weddings and portraits, but like everybody, this journey in photography started with me back in the late 90s as I was hugging the boundary rope of Essex County Cricket Club with my film camera and 300mm lens. And I actually wanted to be a sports photographer, as I got one of my images of Andy Flower published in the national press, and that was it. That was the journey started. But now I can be not only found hugging sweaty men, I like to photograph them too in the sport of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, where I've been photographing at the European Championships for the last 4 years.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott. Like, if you haven't figured it out, this entire panel knows their stuff when it comes to sport. And then there's me. So I'm your panel mentor for tonight. My name is Chris Anderson. I'm the director of judging for the Australian Photographic Prize. When the camera's in my hand, I'm photographing performers, so actors and dancers, live theater production. And there's a reason why these guys are judging and not me. I dug up my grade 3 report card, and my physical education one said, Chris has not really developed a real interest in physical activity this year. And nothing has changed since then, which is why you have these 7 amazing judges doing their job and me just sitting here telling them what to do. So awesome, guys. Are you all ready to go? Fantastic. We're going to start. We've got 5 judges who will be on the panel at any one time. So Matthew and Scott, you're going to have a little break to start. Adam, Christopher, Emily, James, and Matt, you're our starting panel. And if we're ready to go, Daniel, let's have our first image, please.
Good evening. This image has no title.
Score, please, Christopher.
It's not loading. The image is not loading. I'm pressing
Okay.
reload.
All right. Christopher, I'm going to take you off the panel. Matthew Vasilescu, let's bring you in. Sorry to drop you in it, but if you could judge this image, please. All right, we have a 79, highly commended. So congratulations to the entrant on your 79. We're going to go to Adam Horrigan for a comment on this image, please.
Yeah, well handled light in a high contrast situation. Rodeos often in the middle of the day, very difficult. So well done on controlling everything. We always talk about that decisive moment. Perhaps we're not quite there. It's just a little bit either side, though there's a good expression. From there, it's just about removing the distractions, whether that's where your viewpoint is, or perhaps cropping the image to get rid of signs and things that distract us from really seeing into that image.
Excellent. Thanks, Adam. I'm going to keep our judges rotating a fair bit. So Scott Johnson, you're on. And Adam, you can have, after that comment, you can have a little rest. And let's go to our next image, please. I think Daniel's trying to troubleshoot some stuff, so I'll take over.
Sorry. This image is entitled 8 Seconds, and the statement is, a rider is thrown violently from a bucking bull during competition.
And we have a 79, highly commended. So another highly commended, excellent result. And looking for a comment, I'm going to go to Scott Johnson for a comment on this one.
I was literally just hovering on my comment button for you. Apologies for not hitting it sooner. I was at 81, placing this in silver. I'm really enjoying the moment captured here. Sport is about capturing a decisive moment within a hectic couple of seconds, and the author's done a really, really good job here of doing it. I'm enjoying the black and white conversion. I'm enjoying the grain that's used, but the expression, we have the ability to go into 100%. The expression on the rider here is a, oh boy, moment. It's great. What would have elevated me, and I think with all the judges I can see doing this now on the Zoom, just to come bring that crop in ever so slightly, I'm drawn to the hands on the top rail, just at the top there. So just by bringing that crop down ever so slightly, I think would have held my interest a bit more. And I think this would have really helped push this image overall into that silver category.
Excellent comment, Scott. Thank you. Emily, let's give you a little break. And Adam, let's bring you back on. And we'll have our next image, please.
Justine, the best all-round cowgirl.
And we have a 76, a highly commended. Matt, you were right on the score for 76.
Yeah, I think the photographers caught that action really well. You can get a sense of speed and movement from this image. I think what held me back a little was some of the distractions directly around the rider. So you've got the cameraman in the background there doing the video, and it's kind of merging with the shape of the rider as well. So just some attention to details like that. But the dust is working really well as a form of separation.
Excellent. Thank you, Matt. Let's see. James, you can have a little break, and we're going to bring Emily back on, and we'll have our next image, please, Daniel.
Old cowboys never die, they just jump off. Outback Queensland always puts on a good rodeo, and the steer wrestling is epic.
While our judges are looking, entrants have the option of both an optional title and an optional context statement to give some additional information about the event that we're looking at. And we have a silver award at 81. Congratulations to the entrant on your silver. I'm going to go to Emily for a comment on this one, please.
Congratulations to the photographer. What this image does is it keeps on bringing us back into that moment that's happening right in the middle. We keep getting drawn back in by the people and the bystanders in the background. We've got a really strong moment that's being captured, and the focus is honing us right in to hold us there. So congratulations.
Excellent. Thanks, Emily. Let's keep our judges moving around. So, James, we're going to bring you back, and Matt, we'll give you a little break. And let's go to our next image, please, Daniel.
Heartbreak.
We have a highly commended, a 78. Congratulations, entrant. James, you've got a comment on this one.
Yeah, I really appreciate the photographer's use of space here, and I congratulate them on their highly commended. When we go into the image, we see a certain amount of digital artifacting. I feel that this hasn't been taken from a high enough quality JPEG or a raw file, or potentially from a JPEG where we've cropped really a smaller section out of it. So we've just had some of that detail is just not as refined as it possibly could be. And I feel like going back a step and refining the way that we're executing the photographs in camera may elevate us in a real simple sense to the next level.
Excellent. That's really good feedback, James. Thank you. And look, as a Canadian, props to the entrant. Thanks for putting some ice hockey in here. Love it. Matthew, you're going to have a little break. And Matt Palmer, you're going to come back on. We'll have our next image, please, Daniel.
The center of attention, Vladimir Samoylov at the Milano Cortina 2026 Winter Olympics in Milan, Italy.
We have a highly commended, a 79. And we're not staying there too long. We've got two judges who want to challenge, but Adam Hurrigan, you're up there on 85 in the silver with distinction range. So take it away.
Yeah, the tilt shift lens I actually haven't seen for a little while. Again, it was very popular a few years ago, and it's great to see it again because it's a very effective technique, I think, of making this person the absolute, as we say, the center of attention. It really matches the title, and it rewards you when you go in there still. He's really sharp, and I feel like he's a very small figure in the midst of this huge arena, and he's taking the adulation of this crowd even. And I feel like this is a really great way of not only showing a sense of place, because that guy's right in the middle of, you get a sense of who he is and how he's reacting and where we are, but just the scale of what he's performing. He's this tiny little figure on this massive bit of icing for a huge crowd. I think we're always looking for different ways to show an event that's not just zooming in with a big lens and isolating him, which, you would be 1,000 different versions of that. So I want to reward the photographer for giving us a well-executed example of this technique that really enhances this situation.
Excellent. Thank you, Adam. I'm going to come to James next. James, you were midway through highly commended.
Yeah, I placed it there because of the complexity of using tilt shift. It's really tricky, and it's really tricky to execute correctly. And what the photographer did well here is to draw our attention to the point of interest. But that's kind of done anyway because of the way that the arena is set out and the way and the placement and the timing of the dancer in the middle. When we actually go in and look at the point of interest, there's chromatic aberration around the legs, which is leading to some artifacting around the lower half of the body where it's dropped out of focus, and it is slightly competing for attention against the logo in the middle as well. And I just kind of, because the expression in the moment was so well timed, and I commend the author for that, I almost wanted that to be showcased with more refinement in the photographic technique. That's not to say that this hasn't been done well, because this is super complex and super difficult. So I really want to see the author explore this further and keep going and keep trying, because I tried it and gave up after a couple of months. But I appreciate the doing something different, which is why I put it in highly commended.
Thanks, James. Matt, you were one of the potential challengers for this one on 82.
Yeah, I saw that it had clear strengths in concept, technique, or impact, which is our silver criteria. The thing that I'm rewarding it most for is that when you're in a situation like this, the crowd almost does become not individuals, but a blur of color, a blur of noise. And I feel like the tilt shift is using that as a method of communication for what the feeling of this person that they're experiencing in that moment is. So I think that's highly successful. The reason why I didn't go to silver distinction was the chromatic aberration around the legs.
All right, thanks, Matt. Emily, did you have anything you wanted to add just quickly? No, you're good to go. Okay, excellent. Let's go back to you, Adam.
Yeah, certainly. I acknowledge that we're probably holding back a little bit higher. I guess I could forgive it a little bit because the rest of the image almost looks like a bit of an aberration. But yes, if we're talking higher scores, we're definitely starting to talk about the technical aspects. I really enjoy the fact that what we've got is all we talk about getting rid of the distractions, and in the place where there are so many distractions, I think we've really done it. And not only that, we see the only things that we're sharp are where we are, who we are, and even when you look around what's been going on, because all the little lines and the detail and the ice is still there and still quite sharp as well, which kind of gives us a bit of a sense of that journey in the middle. So I'd definitely like to see it come up at least into silver and pushing up towards distinction.
All right, thanks, Adam. Now, when we have a challenge like this, the challenger keeps their score locked in. So Adam is going to stay in 85, and our other judges are invited to rescore based on listening to the discussion. So everyone else, you can rescore now. We got a solid silver award on 82. Excellent work, team. Excellent discussion. That's really good. Love your work. All right, let's give Scott a little break and bring Matthew back to the panel. And we'll have our next image, please, Daniel.
This has a context statement of hard beach landing for the Mentone Life Saving Club Inflatable Rescue Boat Team.
We have a silver award with 81. So well done to our intern on that, with 4 judges in that silver range. Matthew Basilescu, I'd love to get a comment from you on this, please.
Well, we talk about the decisive moment in sport all the time, and going and covering carnivals and things like this for many, many years, this is what you pray for when the newspaper editor says, bring me back something that I could put on the back page. Well, this is fabulous. The photographer's done great capturing the detail, the sharpness, and giving us context of where they are, including the lovely little foreground reflection of the accident rehappening.
Excellent. Thanks, Matthew. A bit worried that you're going out to events hoping to find something like this, but that might say something about you. Just saying. All right, Daniel, before we go to our next image, let's give Adam a break and bring Scott back on, and we'll have our next image, please.
Incomplete. King of the concrete, highest air attempt.
All right, we have an 86, a silver with distinction, with 3 judges in that silver with distinction range. What an excellent outcome. Emily Black, you were right up there.
Yeah, I was well and truly right up there. This is a stunning image that grabs our attention, but the technicality of the image is there too. We can see the expression on the face. We can see right down to the holes in the bottom of the skater's shoe. Like, this just screams street skating. Commend the photographer for going to black and white in this image so that we are brought straight into that the skater. And it's the choice of the crop and the whole element of it holds us in there beautifully. So congratulations on that defining moment.
Excellent. Thanks, Emily. Before we keep going, unfortunately, Christopher Ian's internet is not being his friend tonight, so he's not going to be joining us, which means we have a panel of 6 amazing judges. It means I'm going to work you all a little bit harder. So, you can handle it. James is looking happy with the 6. Excellent. Let's take Scott off the panel and give him a break. Bring Adam back on, and we're going to go. What?
Finish the challenge.
No, there's no challenge.
No?
That was a
I'm
straight
sorry.
silver
I'm
with
gonna be quiet.
distinction. That was, just for a second there, my little heart went, oh no. No, we had 3 judges in that silver with distinction range. So no, we're not going to do that, Scott. I hope that's all right. Now you can really take a break off the panel for speaking out of turn. You're in big trouble. I'm just kidding. Adam, you're back on, and Daniel, next image, please.
This image is entitled Storm Rider. It was a grey, overcast day with gale force winds, rough seas, and brave souls.
We have a silver at 83. Congratulations to the entrant for that. And Matt Palmer, you were exactly on the average there.
Yeah, so I was on 83. I think the image captures just an amazing atmosphere. The sea feels threatening, and the photographers captured that really well. I think what would have brought me up into the next range of silver distinction is when you look at the file closer, there's a bit of colored mottling within the sky. Could be worth looking at a black and white conversion, and that would solve that, or using the techniques to remove those little splotches of color that's hiding in there.
Some nodding from your fellow judges. I can see all the judges' faces during this, so that's good to see. Excellent. Thanks for that feedback, Matt. Emily, we're going to give you a break, and we're going to bring Scott back on. Hopefully there's a challenge for you sometime soon, Scott. We'll see how we go. Let's go to our next image, please.
Title is Cleaned Up. A tough semi-final clash between Whittlesea and McLeod in the Northern Football League.
And we have a 78, a highly commended. Congratulations to the entrant on your highly commended. Adam Hurrigan, have you shot stuff like this before?
Lots of stuff like this before, and it's always great. Again, we don't want to sound like Death Riders, but when there's a bit of action and a bit of sort of, it's about the point of contact, and we've got that nice dominant point of contact. I feel like the focus perhaps just a little bit on the back, like the people in the back are a little bit sharper than the actual person. And I guess then we're really just looking for those expressions to really elevate us up into those next level, to really get an added sense of drama, but certainly a nice, nice moment scene.
Excellent. Thanks, Adam. Let's bring Emily back on. And James, you can have a little break, and we'll go to our next image, please.
Airborne, split-second decisions. Eyes fixed on the next move as the crowd frames the intensity of the moment.
And we have a silver award at 81, and we had 4 judges in the silver range. That's pretty even scoring. I'm going to come to Matthew Vasilescu for a comment. Matthew, you were right on 81.
Yeah, I was right on 81. I was looking at the image for a while. The sharpness and the frozen moment is fantastic. Looking at all of the water droplets in the image, as well as our rider in the image as well. And then that muted crowd in the background that are all looking on and watching and participating in the move that's being made. I think some improvements are just cropping and maybe getting rid of that distraction or a lot of that distraction in the bow wave at the bottom of the frame.
Excellent. Thanks for that feedback, Matthew. Let's see, Matt, you've had quite a run on the panel. Let's give you a little break and bring James back on, and we'll have our next image, please.
A colourful blur. Andrew Longino at the Milano Cortana 2026 Winter Olympics in Livigno, Italy.
Alrighty, we have an initial score of 84 at the top end of silver, and Scott Johnson is sitting on 93, a very solid gold. So, Scott, the challenge is yours.
Finally, I get to get the challenge right. Yeah, I was at 93. When this image came through in the slideshow, I was praying I'd be on the panel for this. This is absolute art at the finest level. We so often see pin sharp, decisive moments in sport photography, and this author has gone out on a limb to try and create something different. It has movement, it has color, it is vibrant. You know exactly what's happening with the title, and you can still see the Olympic rings on the vest here. This is an image that I've never really seen in competition before, which is why I was up at the gold scores, and I'm very interested to hear from my fellow judges.
So, thank you, Scott. Emily, you were just nudging this into silver on 80.
Yeah, okay. So I admit straight up that I was probably a little harsh, Scott. A few of the things that were holding me back were I just want to point to kind of rest my eyes that isn't those rings. I sort of was looking for a face, looking for an expression, looking for something in the image just to really hold me. I just feel like I'm moving around a little too much. If you could just address that, maybe I would, yeah. But I agree, haven't seen something like this, and I'm all for art in a category like this that's going to hold us there.
Thanks, Emily. We're talking gold, so we're going to go to a few extra people, I think. Adam Hurrigan, you were on 82.
Yeah, I had similar thoughts to Emily about I really sort of was looking for the context of what the person like. There's a lot of movement in the frame, yet I feel like it's kind of an in between moment almost. Like I can't really tell what's going on here. I'm assuming it could be ski jump, it could be anything. I'm saying like there's just parts of the movement as well that are blocked a little bit. There's another line that sort of at the bottom of the ski on the bottom left there that kind of draws me away from looking into where that lovely intensity is. And that it's the the makings of something I think that's really interesting. And certainly when you've got people coming down the mountain and you've got your sharp shot, then this sort of stuff is so good to really test yourself and play with. So that's what I was rewarding the entry, but like too, I'm just looking for that context and something to really rest on.
Excellent. Thanks, Adam. Matthew Vasilescu, you had this up in silver with distinction.
Yeah, I did. I had this up in silver with distinction. I'm sitting on 87. To address the points of Emily and Adam, as far as a place to rest their eye, I do understand that in looking at it and looking at the image on my screen past my other screen in front of me, sorry. What I'm just looking for in there as well is that tiny little point of sharpness, which is probably why I'm sitting where I am. I understand the entire image, having watched aerial skiing and seeing in a matter of seconds these amazing athletes go up and spin and turn and flip and do it in the daylight and do it in the dark as well and still be able to land. So to see this color and movement and shape that's been created by the photographer and seen by the photographer and probably experimented for many, many, many frames to capture this frame. The only other little thing that I'm looking for in there is just the ever so small point of extra sharpness in the center of that turn.
Thanks, Matthew. James, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I wanted to give a slightly different viewpoint in terms of my Instagram feed at Olympics and at World Cups and things is filled with images like this, is filled with motion blur. So for me personally, the impact is slightly lost, although we may not have seen many of them in competition. When we go into the image, there has been some level of over sharpening or sharpening filter put on afterwards, particularly on the athlete, where there's almost like a bubbled and a rippled effect on there. And that just took me slightly out of the moment. There is a diagonal, sort of wide diagonal line bar coming from top left through to bottom right, almost a couple of inches wide, that sort of comes through there, which is just a little bit distracting as well. These elements on the slope, although when the initial impact comes up and it looks amazing and vibrant and colorful, and how was this captured, they're quite predictable because on the pipes we know where they're going up. And what I really want the photographer to do is to keep going, because I believe that there is something here where we can use negative space, where we can use color, and where we can really experiment with different shutter speeds to get something that really then jumps a couple of categories. I'm listening, Scott. I've judged it at 81. I'm willing to move up, certainly, because of the creativity in there. But I'm also taking on board everyone's comments as a whole.
Awesome. Thanks, James. Back to you, Scott.
Thank you. Thank you, judges, for your comments and feedbacks. Yes, I agree with most of the comments and points you have made, which is why I've not gone up higher. Emily, I think this author has purposely intended us for not to give us a permanent resting place for our eye. I think this has been taken from the sensation of what it's like to be that person. It's either ski jumping or snowboarding, and I think they've really done a good job of, because this is how they'll see everything else when they're pulling off their technique. And I think they've done a really, really good job of not giving us a point to rest our eye on, to give us, we're a bit discombobulated with everything, because that's how they're feeling. I think that the author has given us that immersiveness in there, which I think is why it's worked off so well. Yes, James, it is a little bit over sharp. Yes, I have seen this before in a couple of threads on my Instagram during the Olympics, but I think we don't often see it in competition. I think we need to be rewarding the author for doing something different, and we're not seeing the same stuff time and time and time again. Yeah, it could be cropped slightly different. There are some horizontal lines in there, and there is a big black splodge at the top, which is again why I've not gone up into the high score categories. But I'm sitting at gold. I'm not asking you to come up with me into gold. I think that's going to be a big ask. But at 84, I really think this should be deserving of a silver distinction. So if you want to come and join me just a little bit, I would really, and I think the photographer would appreciate it as well.
All right, thank you, Scott. Scott's going to hold his score at 93. Other judges can rescore now, please. Ask and you shall receive 87, silver with distinction. So congratulations to the photographer. Hopefully you're jumping up and down on your couch right now, because that was a pretty good discussion. And let's do some judge changes. Matthew, you've had an epic run. Let's give you a break. Bring Matt Palmer back on, and we'll have our next image placed, Daniel.
Deadlift. A sumo match is won when the opponent is being lifted off his feet.
And we have a 78, a highly commended. So congratulations to the intern on that. We've got a lot of folks who want to talk about that. Matt Palmer, I might come to you for a comment, please.
Yeah, I think the photographer's done really well to capture the intensity of that man bearing the weight of his opponent. And I really like finding that kind of shocked expression in the background as well. That's a really great thing to discover as a little subtle extra. I think what could have improved it is I feel like these shadows have been brought up just a bit too much, and that's created like some really unusual skin textures and mottling and some artifacts and things that you find when you're looking closer at the image. So perhaps bringing it back to the original and then being really selective about what you're highlighting.
Nods of agreement from all over the panel on that one. Thank you, Matt. Let's go. Adam, you're going to have a break. Matthew Vasilescu, you're back on, and we'll have our next image, please, Daniel.
Hammer throw, an image of Kelleher at the 2026 Oceania Athletics Championships in Darwin.
Very even scoring around the panel. We have a 77, highly commended. All of our judges within 1 point of that. Scott Johnson, would love some feedback from you, please.
Yeah, I was at 78, so bang on the average there. Commend the author for getting really close, because if that goes wrong, bye-bye camera. I think that's very well done for that. I think what would have helped me go up a little more in a score category is there's quite clearly a vignette around that top right-hand corner, around the top. Just tone that down ever so slightly. It's very, very difficult to photograph through a netting to get critical focus on the eye, which you've done beautifully. There's a lot of light coming through, so you've done a really kind of effective job of trying to keep our attention to the hammer throw there, but I think you've just gone too much with that vignette. I've always said if you're using a vignette, it should be like garlic when you cook. If you can taste a garlic, you've probably used too much, and if you can see a vignette, you've probably used it a little bit too much. So I would just tone that down ever so slightly, but well done on the highly commended.
Thank you, Scott. I can see nods of approval from the judges on your photography comments and some shakes of heads on the garlic comment. So I think you're on your own with that one. And maybe we'll get you in a cooking competition next. All right. And let's see, for offending everyone about garlic, Scott, you can have a break, and Adam, you're back on. Let's go to our next image, please, Daniel.
Lola versus the wave.
We have an initial score of 79, highly commended. I cannot imagine that James is going to let that stand on 92 in the gold range. James, over to you.
Really what's the word? Anxious about scoring this in that category, because I know from my experiences of the coastline in the UK are largely grey and dull and flat. And I know that we're judging an Australian competition where you're blessed with gorgeous coastlines and probably images like this all the time. So for me personally, the impact was quite high. The story was very easy to understand. The composition was really well handled. Good use of thirds, good bottom heavy subject in the image. Great use of color in this. We got good color harmony. We got good blues, good greens, and a lovely little accent of purple at the bottom there, drawing our eye into the picture. To a non-photographer, this is a very simple, easy narrative to understand. So the storytelling was really good. And as I was going through my list of factors, my list of things that I judge a photograph by, I just felt that it showed simplicity and excellence in concept and in impact. I felt it was a really simple story, well told, and I felt that the photograph deserved to be rewarded for that. Well seen and good, simple, honest photography.
All right, thank you, James. I'm going to come to Emily to start on the other end. Emily, you were highly commended with this one.
Yeah, I was right down the other end in 79. Sorry, 78. I agree with everything you said, James. It is a well shot image. It is exactly what I would expect to see. When I'm looking for gold, when I'm looking for something up in that high end category, especially for something as dramatic as this could be, I need more. I need something that isn't going to be forgettable. I've seen, and this is where the international scale of judging, right? So I see this regularly, and this is a beautiful image. I would be proud to have it on my wall. I would be proud to face a wave like that. But it's just not up in that high award level for me. It's just a little, it's just missing something for me to really elevate me higher.
Thank you, Emily. We'll hear from a few people on this one. Adam, you were just sneaking this into silver.
Yeah, I rewarded it for silver for the concept and even the way that it matches the title as well. It has this sort of almost gladiatorial. The scale is there. James, I appreciate what you say about the thirds. Her positioning in the frame is really, really good. I feel like to emphasize the height even more, perhaps I'm pushed away at the top a bit because I feel like, well, it could be even high. You know, I've got more room at the top there, and perhaps I can crop this 1,000 different ways, whether it's vertical or square or cropping the top off in pano. I never kind of rest on where I'm comfortable to really, really emphasize that story. And when we're talking about shooting things like with long lenses like this, the depth of field is obviously very hard. And I wonder when I come in to look at her, she's not as crisp, obviously, as what the wave is. And I wonder, is the story about her or is it about the wave? And I vacillate between those two things. So that's what I want to reward it into silver, just for the initial impact, I think, and that storytelling that you talked about.
Thanks, Adam. Matt, you wanted to add something to this?
Yeah, I put the anticipation that's created by this image and the photographer timing it to the peak of the wave. I put that into the highly commended at the top level. I would have probably snuck it into silver initially had I not found the dust spot in the wave on the far right. That tends to be something that I pick up, sorry. But I would probably consider going into silver for you, but it might be a bit hard to go higher than that.
Thank you, Matt. James, back to you.
Yeah, let's go. Thank you very much, everyone, for your constructive feedback and for pointing out things that I hadn't noticed and for lending me your Southern Hemisphere expertise on this image. I'm glad that Emily says that she would proudly hang this on the wall. And as photographs, I think the ones that I would proudly hang on the wall are either like really, really intimate private family moments or award-winning images. I'm glad that I'm sad that Adam was struggling to find a narrative after he described it as a gladiatorial picture, like the human against the sea. I mean, and that's exactly what I saw when I first saw it, and I think that is the storytelling if we're struggling to reach one. Hey Matt, thanks for pointing out the dust spots. They're there, and they're work there, I'm meticulous when I try to produce images for competition and little things like that. I find difficult to overcome when I'm judging into higher categories. But if we bring it back, we're currently in highly commended, and silver is described as a strong creative image with clear strengths in concept, technique, or impact. It doesn't have to be all of them. It clearly has a concept. It clearly showcases technique, and it clearly showcases impact through simple storytelling. So I believe that we can maybe have a look at our scores and revise where we're sitting at the moment. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you, James. James is going to keep his score at 92. Everyone else can rescore now, please. Excellent discussion, team. 83 silver award. Very good. I'm also impressed that Emily would be willing to face this, which makes it sound very scary. So Emily, props for you. Now, We're about the halfway point in our competition for tonight, so we're actually going to take a little commercial break, which means at home you can get up and stretch your legs, or you can hang around for some messages from our sponsors, and then we'll see you back here in 3 or 4 minutes.
Wow, photographing the way I do, but with my colors, this will change everything.
I got to see each frame, each position of its wing, and they're so beautiful that I have never seen before.
Being able to move quickly and working at my brain's pace and getting those shots in the moment. Having this camera allows you to go out and create the way you want to create.
Until you use it, you cannot even imagine what you have missed.
It's something I've never seen before in my entire life. It's something totally different.
Nikon Z6 III. Outperform.
Introducing ISO Color Edge. Precision is essential for any professional working with images. Whether you're an artist, a retoucher, or a visual effects specialist, you need to know that what you see at the start of a project is precisely what you'll get at the end. Color Edge monitors give consistent, reliable accuracy that guarantee no surprises within your color workflow. So what you see in real life is what you see on screen, and what you see on screen is what you see in real life. That's precisely why professionals all over the world trust ISO Color Edge for their image creation. ISO Color Edge. Discover living, breathing color.
I'm Mark Rosetto from the Professional Photography Business Network.
A vibrant community from all around the world who's here to supercharge your business growth.
This is not an expensive one-size-fits-all course.
The PPBN is a network,
An online educational platform with training and resources to suit everyone.
from those just starting out to the seasoned pros.
You can tailor your journey to suit your individual business needs and challenges, all at your own pace.
And there's new content added every week. But success is only part of the experience.
To us, community is super important, as we all know business can be lonely.
So join us today. PPBN is your unfair advantage. Let's do this.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Sport, the first time we've ever had a sport category at the Australian Photographic Prize. We're just coming past the halfway mark now, and we're going to get straight back into it. So Emily, you're coming off the panel, and Scott Johnson, you're back on again. Let's have our next image, please, Daniel.
The sails float by. The yachts racing in the Festival of Sails Geelong, casting a rippling reflection.
And we have, with pretty tight scoring around the panel, an 83, a silver award. So well done to our entrant. Adam Horgan nearly always has a comment. This is no exception.
Yeah, look, a well-seen image, like we're often looking for, as we say, for alternate angles or different ways, and this has kind of got a little bit of that art feeling to it. That's a bit more of like a display art piece. So well seen on that. I guess to take it higher, then it's about finding that extra point of interest and making sure everything. So perhaps those two sails on the left that are quite close together perhaps just breaks up that composition a little bit. There's sort of a little bit of confusion of the shapes there. So it's just about finding then the way that really leads us through the image and rewards us when we get right in there and has a look to really bring it up into higher sections.
Excellent. Thanks, Adam. James, you've had a bit of a run. Let's give you a break and bring Emily back on, and we'll have our next image, please.
Top of the world. Image shot during the 2026 Milano Cortina Winter Olympics.
We have an 82, a silver award. So congratulations on your silver. Matt Palmer, sorry, was pretty quick with the comment. So go for it, Matt.
Yeah, I think this photograph captures the epicness of the moment really well. Just the air that this person is getting on their skis is incredible, and the sun kind of draws you into the center of the frame and highlights them. I think what could have improved it for me is not so much in the same vein as a dust spot, but a dust hair. There's a little hair squiggle up the top of the frame, which is something to have a look at. And perhaps this is kind of a homage to old film or something like that, but there is a bit of a color cast that's a little unusual. That could be something to look at as well.
All right, thanks, Matt. Matt, you can have a little break, and we'll bring James back on. And Daniel, next image, please.
Quattro. Malchio's Audi Quattro S1 E3 replica, Bago Forest Rally, New South Wales, 2023.
We have a 78, a highly commended. So I might let's go to, well, actually, excellent. Matthew's put his hand up. He's at that challenge button. Matthew's on 84 in very high silver. Go for it, Matthew.
Yes, I am, and I think it definitely deserves that to reward the photographer for hoping that this moment was going to happen, because for anyone who has been in the forest waiting for a rally car to come whilst you're hearing it coming towards you, to have a single opportunity to capture this car and put it at almost 3 wheels off the ground, launching itself over that corner with that lovely dust trail behind, showing us where it's come from, and obviously knowing exactly where it's going to. The photographer's done a great job in seeing, waiting, and crafting the shape of this image and giving us that nice curve through there while the car's pointing straight out of frame. And I am rewarding them for their patience and their vision to see, stand, and wait and capture this image.
Thank you, Matthew. James, you saw this a bit differently.
Yeah, I had it at the top end of pre-award just before highly commended. There was just a few. There were certainly a lot of technical issues with regards to some of the light coming through the trees and some of the light falling on the car in terms of giving us different color casts and not really having exhibiting much use of depth of field to draw our eye and help us come into the frame. I'm really appreciative of Matthew pointing out the 2 wheels on the floor, nearly 3 wheels in the air thing, which isn't something that I would have necessarily looked for. I just felt with the path and with the smoke and with the way that the car is there a different angle? Is there a different way that we can shoot this as a photographer? Is there a different focal length that we can use to really accentuate that shape through the mountains and really to elevate it into highly commended and silver levels? I'm really interested in hearing what all my other judges have to say, because I am the lowest score and I'm willing to move accordingly.
Scott, you were right on 78 on the average.
Yeah, I was 78. I quite enjoyed it. I'm going to agree with both Matthew and James. I awarded it 78 for the reasons that Matthew gave, but 78 also for the reasons that James gave. I think I quite like the focal length here, because normally you would typically see just the car and a bit more motion, but I think they've done a really, really good job of freezing that moment with some of the scenery in the background. I'm actually quite enjoying it. One of the reasons that stops me going up a little bit higher was you've got this beautiful warmth in the trees and the beautiful warmth as the sun hits the dust trail, but the car's in shade and very, very blue. So I'd like to see a little bit more warmth overall being brought up to bring those whites of the car a little bit more harmoniously into the colour of the scene. But I am listening. I'm at 78. You haven't got a lot of work to do to bring me up, Matthew, so my ears are wide and open for you.
All right, Matthew, back to you.
Great, thanks, Scott. And yes, the shape of the image is crafted like that because I'm seeing as an editorial photographer that one of the things you are asked for all the time is give me a vertical image. This is a beautiful vertical image with a lovely shape to it that can give your sub-editor the opportunity to still crop it and still create a really lovely deep image. And the balance between that bush of that lovely warm background and showing us the context of where the car has come from and where the car is traveling to, and the car in the shade is exactly what Rally is all about. They go from sunlight to shade, back to sunlight, back to full shade again, in a really challenging environment. So the photographer is also in this same challenging environment. If they change the tone of that car and make that car warm, they've got to make that entire foreground warm, which actually unbalances that image and creates a false narrative of what's actually going on in the lighting that's there. The light's been handled really well, and I'm rewarding the photographer for all of the elements that they have captured and seen in this image. I encourage you to please come up and let's reward them with a nice silver award.
All right, we're on 78 at the moment. Matthew's going to lock his score at 84. Everyone else rescore now, please. Judges, are you able to rescore at the moment? No. Somewhat. Okay, we might have a little bit of a server problem, so we're just going to hold tight for a moment. Okay, just give me 1 second. It could be... Sorry, everyone. Looks like it's the night for technical problems. I'm not seeing any rescores. Daniel, if you can see what the new scores are.
No, I can't see any rescores. I'm sorry.
Can we get a blank screen for the moment, just for a little bit?
Now I can see rescores, some of them.
I can see a couple rescores as well. I can see all of them but Scott's. So,
Scott, have you been able to enter a score?
excellent. Thanks for your patience, everyone. We have an AT, a silver award. There's a photographer at home freaking out right now, waiting for those scores to come in. I'm glad the wait was worth it. So congratulations on your silver. Apologies, everyone. Every now and again, technology is not our friend. It's already taken Christopher out, and it looks like it took our server out for a moment as well, but hopefully we're back. Let's give Matthew a little break. Bring Matt back on again, and then Daniel will have our next image, please.
ShadowNet. Image of Maya joint captured during the United Cup 2026 in Sydney.
And we have a highly commended on 79 with Adam Hurrigan straight out of the gate looking for a challenge. Adam's on 84, high end of silver. Take it away, Adam.
There's a wonderful thing at the tennis that you get those little pockets of light that you're always really looking for to give you something different, I guess, than just somebody hitting a ball. And we talk about the negative space allowing for plenty of room in dynamic sort of layouts and compositions. And the light's been really, really well handled. It's sort of the direction of light leads you right to the face and sort of gives you that anticipation. It's a lovely profile on that player. It shows sort of her strength. It really shows off the muscles, the grips and everything. And there's a lovely repetition of that net shape from the face through the racket and just into the background there as well. Like whether that's that just little piece of the background, I feel like really continues that motif right through. I think it's worthy of a silver just for the strength and the control that it's shown.
Thank you, Adam. We're going to go to Matt next. Matt had this in highly commended.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the relationship between the racket pattern in the background as well, and even the color with the purple and then the yellow is a really nice color palette. What held me back is when you have these kind of static images of portraits of sports people in the situation, which I really appreciate these people taking because you can get some stellar shots that way. You kind of bring in a sensibility of portrait as well. And in this image, I just feel like her eye is just too cut off by the shadow cast from her hat. And had we seen a little bit more of that eye brought out, or even just kind of like the detail of it in the shadows, that would have strengthened it. But instead, we're left with some of the highlights that are stronger in the image, like on her nose or around her collarbone, drawing us to areas that aren't communicating as well. But I do take on board what you were saying about the strength of the muscles in her arms and things that you get in this pose. So I'll take that on board.
Thank you, Matt. Emily, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Matt covered it.
You did. Okay. I might go to Scott, see if Scott has any other comments before we go back to Adam.
Yeah, I completely agree with Matt. I think maybe the next shot in this set might have been the one to enter, but no, I concur with everything Matt said.
All right, James, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Matt said everything.
Excellent. Adam, back to you.
I might have a bit of a thing. I think we are obviously we're talking about the image that's in front of us, and for the photographer, that's the image that's in front of them as well. Perhaps a butterfly flew onto a hat, and the next frame wasn't any good at all. We're not judging that moment. We're judging the strength of this moment. That's not something we can go, can you just move your head a little bit to the side? She's probably about to hit a ball at 140 k's an hour straight back at the opponent's feet or something like that. And I feel like there's a real strength in that moment of solitude before all this action. And I reckon the light, which probably, as I said, if there was little bits of eyes, I'd be even talking higher. But we have to deal with the situations and the light we're given. I think the photographer's seen it, handled it well, and even the little elements and bringing out that little piece in the background shows that they understand it's more than just the thing. There's a motif going on here that they're seeing clear strengths in concept, technique, or impact, and probably more than that. I would love to see it come up into a silver.
Thanks, Adam. Adam, you're going to leave your score at 84. Everyone else, please rescore. And we have snuck up to an 80, a silver award. Excellent work. Good job, team. Good discussion. Let's see who's been on the panel for a while. Adam, you've been on the panel for ages. Let's give you a break and bring Matthew back. And we'll have our next image, please, Daniel.
Impact. Flying from the top rope, two wrestlers locked together about to hit the mat.
And we have a highly commended 79. So congratulations to the entrant. Pretty even scoring around the panel as well. I'm going to go to James. James spends a lot of time in the company of sweaty men. So this is probably a subject you're used to.
Yeah, you can visit my YouTube channel, No Fuss Must, for ringside tutorials where I place a GoPro on top of my camera and shoot this exact thing. If you want, there's a cheap plug for you, Chris. I placed this at 78 right in that highly commended, and what I thought was done really, really well by the photographer here was showcasing the reaction of the referee. And when you're new to wrestling, watching the referee is your friend in the ring. The referee gives you without wishing to go too deep, the referee gives you the indications as what's about to happen, where the big moments are going to occur in the ring, where then you can therefore place yourself in the ring. This looks like either a middle or a top rope suplex, which means a couple of frames before, these two athletes are on the top rope, and in a few nanoseconds time, they're going to be flat on the canvas. In a few nanoseconds time, that flat on the canvas shot is the worst picture you can take in this scenario. It's just flat, nothing really happening, and all you've got is a referee stood in the ring. That image a couple of nanoseconds after that is possibly the one we want to go for. We're always looking for the moments straight after big impact moves for the reactions, because the wrestlers and performers in the ring are looking to sell out. They're looking to give big expressions. We can't really showcase this high suplex in this scenario at this moment in time at its best. We're either going for the top of the move where we're at our highest and there's the most peril, or we're looking for the reactions afterwards. Challenging lighting conditions in these venues, it's been well handled, but in order to take it up to the next level, we're looking to pick another moment.
Excellent. Thank you, James. Spectacular feedback. So I'm learning about wrestling photography now. Appreciate the lesson. Adam, let's bring you back and let's give Emily a little break, and we'll have our next image, please, Daniel.
Sorry, that just took a second. Mars landing. Kalia Kuhn at the Milano Cortana 2026 Winter Olympic Games at Livigno, Italy.
And we have a silver award at 80. So fabulous work. Congratulations to the photographer. Matt Palmer, you were really close to the average there.
Yeah, when this came up, it has all of the feeling of a potential gold image. It has this kind of religious reverence about it, which you could apply to sport. I mean, they say sport's even more important than religion is one of those old sayings. But what kind of lets it down is just the detail. If the athlete had have been perfectly sharp and detailed, I probably would have gone straight to gold. There's a nice little cross there on their shoulder as well that kind of feeds into that motif. And then the lighting is kind of angelic as well. So I thought the concept was just awesome. It was just the detail.
All right, thanks, Matt. That's really good feedback. Let's do another judge change. So James, you can have a short break. And Emily, you're back on the panel. And Daniel, we can have our next image, please.
This image has no title.
Very even scoring again. We have a 78, highly commended. Adam Hurrigan, you've got some feedback for this one.
Yeah, there's a great intensity in that diagonal line with the stare of the horse and the man to the beast. I feel like we're trying to give the context of that beast in front. It sort of dominates the frame, so that big butt right in through. But I feel like where the improvements could come is the highlight control just around the face and the hat, especially So it loses a little bit of detail and fights with the tones around it as well. Perhaps just toning us back that background, and so the bright parts that will really get us into that nice diagonal line even further.
Excellent. Thank you, Adam. Let's give, what are we going to do now? We're going to give Scott a little break, and we're going to bring James back on, and we'll have our next image, please, Daniel.
Fast and Furious Coco. Image was creatively created using the reflection from a courtside glass panel.
All right, we have an initial score of 87, and Matt Palmer is on 91 in the gold range. Let's have a chat, Matt. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you to the context statement on this one that provides a little bit of how this is made, because I think when you're a sports photographer, you typically think of this as doing a longer exposure and then using flash to freeze the motion. But in this instance, they're using the glass paneling on the court side to create this kind of sense of distortion, which adds so much to the image by giving it this really dynamic and strong movement. I think that's used, it's just so clever to do that, and it really lends itself to the subject matter as well. The athlete, the ball, everything's moving in the same direction and supported by the use of that technique. So I think it's absolutely brilliant. They've kept the shadow in as well. You've got the ball, you've got the ball's shadow. Everything's just in its right place. It's just the perfect way to use this technique and deliver it.
Thanks, Matt. James, you were in the mid-range of silver for this one.
Yeah, and I'm glad to be given extra time to look at it and take it in. Really, I couldn't decide in my mind whether I appreciated the context statement or whether it was at the detriment. I kind of like the air of mystery, and then but I do overall. I think I appreciate it. I think it answers a lot of questions, and it actually reaffirms to me why maybe my score was a little lower than it probably should be. Because overall, I found the overall image quality wasn't there on first impression when I zoomed in, just the overall artifacting within the frame. But then when you see the context statement, that sort of answers that question. So I'm willing to move.
All right, brilliant. Thanks, James. Emily, you're pretty high up there in 87.
Yeah, I'm really grateful that it was challenged up into gold, because I think that's actually where it belongs. For all of the reasons that have been stated, the longer we're sitting with this, the more impact it's having. We look at gold and we think of it's an outstanding image. It's using excellence. It's holding us there. It's bringing us in. It's an image that we're going to remember. It stands out. We've got the contrasting colors. All the elements are there. The lines are leading us back in. This has got it all.
Thanks, Emily. Let's see. Matt, let's come back to you.
All right, it's always interesting when you don't get too many complaints on a challenge. So I'll just point out a few other strengths of the image. So I love the fact that her left leg is creating this arrow that supports the movement as well. It's very powerful. She's jumping kind of off that right leg, so that's giving us a lot of strength and intensity. You can see the muscles flexing in her arms as she belts the crap out of that ball. And then you've also got, when you look in closer, just the intensity of her eye and her vision as she's playing that shot as well. I see what you were saying about maybe the image quality being a little bit not 100%, but I do think that is a product of the technique in shooting through to multiple kind of layers of glass as well. So I kind of feel like it's a trade-off for something spectacular. So I'm rewarding it in gold, and I hope you guys can come up as well.
Thanks, Matt. Matt's going to keep his score at 91. Everyone else can rescore now, please. Well done. Every judge moved into the gold range, a 91. Gold award. Well done, everyone. Tell you what, I have the best seat in the house because I can see the scores as they come in. So I get to see when someone hits that 91. It's pretty exciting. You know we're going to have a chat. Excellent challenge. Good teamwork, everyone. Scott Johnson, let's bring you back onto the panel. And Matt, after that hard work, you can have a break. And we'll go to our next image, please, Daniel.
This image has no title.
And we have an 81, a silver award with 3 judges in that silver range. Adam, you've got a bit of feedback for this image?
Yeah, certainly. Again, like to reward the entrant for the really way they've handled that high contrast situation, the way that the light sort of comes across. You get great expression. You're really getting on his expression. There's lovely tones right through the horse that have been really well controlled. Again, it's all about distraction control. That speaker is kind of just an unfortunate place, but that's the only probably little bit that, the rest of it's been really well handled. I guess the only thing is we're looking for to get up into silver distinction is perhaps just if the moment's just a little tiny bit on the way down, but still lovely extension and shows off everything about this sport. So well done.
Thank you, Adam. Let's give Matthew a little break, and Matt can come back on, and we'll have our next image, please.
Woman at full tilt. A skilled female barrel racer turns for home at the Noonamah Rodeo.
And we have a highly commended 76. So congratulations to the photographer on your highly commended. I'm going to come to, let's go to Matt for a comment, please.
Yeah, the photographers captured a really gorgeous golden atmosphere in this, and the way that that golden light is kind of backlighting the horse is a really lovely feature as well. I think one of the things that could help improve it is just the general image quality is not quite there. Maybe they were shooting in against the light and therefore having to pump their ISO up or something like that, which is always difficult. But had that image quality been a little bit better, and perhaps the bottle green sign being a little less dominant in color palette, then it would have definitely lifted up even more.
Thank you, Matt. Matthew Vasilescu, you're back on, and we'll give Adam a little break, and we'll have our next image, please, Daniel.
13th Beach, 2026 Marpay Cadell Evans Great Ocean Road Race, Geelong, Victoria.
And we have a silver award on 81. Congratulations to the entrant on your silver. Now, comment-wise, I'm gonna go to Scott Johnson for a comment on this one, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. I was at 81, so bang on the average there. Now, we were very lucky to have the Tour de France come through the town where I live a while back, and I know the level of patience that is required to sit and wait to get the moment like this. So I want to commend the author for having the patience and giving us an image that we don't often see. We normally always see just one of the riders, but to see the entire not only the peloton, but the support crews and trailing all the way back almost to where we can't see, and the beautiful scenery in which we are. I think to elevate this up a little bit more, I would have actually liked a little bit more garlic here on the lower left-hand corner, just to try and draw our eye more into the riders. That lower left-hand shrubbery there is just a little bit too dominant. Just by bringing us into where the road is and the cyclists here would have really helped bring it up a score category. But I think 81's a solid score, so well done.
All right, thank you, Scott. Another garlic reference. I don't know about this cooking for you, but it's good to have it's good to try something new. Emily, you can have a little break, and Adam, let's bring you back on, and we'll go to our next image, please, Daniel.
The toughest climb. Lucas Ball competes at the Milano Cortina 2026 Winter Olympics at Livigno, Italy.
And we have an 86, a silver with distinction, with three of our judges in that silver with distinction range. I'm going to go to Matthew Vasilescu. You spent a lot of time having a good close look at that image.
I did spend a lot of time having a very good close look at that, and I was really looking at the athlete in there, and looking at where the athlete is looking at. He's looking at the peril that's facing him that we cannot see, and we're getting all of that story and all of that information, and all of that communicated to us in what we can't particularly see or make out, other than we're in the snow and there's something that's facing this athlete. So it's beautifully captured with two very distinct sides of this image.
Thank you, Matthew. We're going to bring Emily back. And I can tell you that she didn't want to be off the panel for that last image because I could see the face that she was making. James, you can have a little break. And we'll go to our next image, please.
Awaba Downhill MTB 44. Speed 2.2 kilometers, MTB downhill track, vertical descent 330 meters, fastest times at 3 minutes 30 seconds.
And we have a silver award with an 80. And I might come to, let's go to Adam. Adam, you're really close to the average there.
Yeah, look, it's certainly dynamic, with that use of the panning is very effective to give that sense of speed that perhaps I guess that's what the author is trying to get across in the context statement, to emphasize the speed of this downhill, and the eyes are certainly, especially because we're not going directly across that plane of panning, the eyes are sharp enough to sort of carry that give us that central point. I guess to really get us in the silver distinction, we need a bit more of the sense of that drama. Well done for getting rid of the distractions, but it's a photo of what it is, and there's we need to expand upon the story a little bit, but certainly well captured, and getting rid of all of those distractions to emphasize that form and shape is great.
Excellent. Thanks, Adam. Matt, let's give you a short break, and James back on the panel. Next image, please, Daniel.
Silent mode. The image of Cam Smith competing at the Australian Open Golf 2025 in Melbourne.
And we have a silver award, 84. Congratulations on your silver. However, Emily doesn't want to let it stand with that. She's on 88 in silver with distinction. All yours, Emily.
Look, we're right up there. I think we can go an extra couple of points here to get it up into that next category. But this image gives us so much. And I think sitting with it a little bit longer as we move through, we're drawn back to our subject. It's a golf image. There's no ball. We can't see the ball, but we know exactly what's going on. And we're reading these people's faces, the cameras, the phones, all of the expressions on people's faces. And we still keep coming back to that one, you know, the athlete there who's holding his breath along with all of these other people. We can feel the silence. Yes, it's contrasty. Yes, he gets lost a little in the image, but I think that's what's so special about it, because he's almost encapsulated by the entire scene. So I definitely think it's well worth coming up. Just a couple of extra points into that silver distinction range.
All right, thanks, Emily. James, you're down the other end of this in the silver range.
I'm not too far away on the silver range, and I'm certainly willing to move on this one. I've placed it firmly within silver at 82. The reason why I didn't come up into silver's distinction is just I believe that there is an elevated image here if we choose a different aperture. If we tighten up that aperture and we give us a deeper depth of field, we have more of these faces pin sharp in focus, and then we get to explore those expressions even more. I appreciate coming back to the central point, to the golfer on the rule of thirds, and I'm taking that into my reconsideration. So thank you, Emily, for pointing that out. But I just feel that there would be even more detail to enjoy if we had a slightly longer depth of field. But I really commend the author for seeing something different from this, which is a really, really good photographer quality.
Thank you, James. Adam, let's come to you next. You're on 84, only 1 point short of silver.
I'm not far away at all. I guess I feel like, to address what James said, probably at 400 to 600 millimeters here, we're talking about the difference in, maybe 10 centimeters of depth of field as opposed to 5 centimeters, I guess. So I can kind of forgive that, because I feel like I've been in the situation as well and know whether I feel like what held me back from silver distinction. We talk about silver distinctions as, it's a little bit about the bravery. Is we've lost the golfer's feet there, and I don't mind that, but at that big block of grass sort of in front, and even the line at the top, the strength is in the real panoramic crop, and it feels like a brave crop to be in like that, but we've given the bravery anyway by sort of having the feet chopped off, and I'm drawn just sort of away from all those wonderful faces. The thing that will convince me as I kind of read the story into the image more, and we talk about silent mode, is that quiet sign on the right-hand side. And I feel like, it's like a concert almost nowadays, that 20 years ago, the concert was as loud as hell because everywhere was singing along and waving around. Now they're just waving their phones up in the air, and this is silent mode, so it's really cleverly titled, because it does feel like a hold your breath moment. I think I can come up the extra point, absolutely. But I was really sort of drawn to the panoramic nature that's there, and the bravery that could still be coming from that image.
Thanks, Adam. Matthew, do you have anything you want to add? You're in support of this image.
Yes, I do. Definitely. Quiet, please, is the first thing that I'm seeing in this image. Both signs, the one that's still held up and the one that is not being held up by the lady on the far right, who is leaning in to look at where the shot has gone to. I think the photographer choosing to turn this into a monochrome and giving this to us as black and white also supports the quiet please, because it's very muted, the image. We're not seeing the color in it, and I can imagine that there's a sea of color in this image that we're not seeing, so we're actually seeing what's going on in the picture. And the golfer's feet being chopped off, he has a pitching wedge in his hand, so he is ever so slightly down and he is chipping onto the green, which means he's going to be in a lower position than on a higher position and putting, or on a flat, even surface. And the peril that is on everyone's face and the intense focus that is on the golfer's face as he's looking at where his shot has gone is why I've supported it all the way in with Emily into silver with distinction.
All right, thanks, Matthew. Emily, back to you.
Matthew's probably answered most of the things that I was going to say. The use of black and white, deliberate. The fact that his feet have been cropped off, he's got that pitching wedge. But we're swept around. We're not losing the feed on the right. We haven't cropped off the feed on the right, which just feeds us back in because of that darkness over on the right, which brings us back into him. So I think the crop is extremely deliberate as well. And it's eyes on the prize, man. All those eyes, but the camera eyes, all those eyes are just pulling us back. None of them are looking at anything other than where that ball has gone. It just holds us beautifully. I think it's well and truly worthy of an extra couple of points to bring it into that next category.
Thank you, Emily. Emily's going to hold her score at 88. Everyone else is invited to rescore now, please. And we move to an 87, a solid silver with distinction. Excellent work, team. Really good discussion. All right. We're going to give Matthew a little break and bring Matt back on. And we'll have our next image, please, Daniel. Daniel's muted. I might read out the context statement for him.
Oh, I did so well on that name too. Nicholas Basaris Cespedes, Oceania Paris Standing Tennis Championships Finals.
We have an 81, a silver award. So excellent work to the entrant. That said, Adam Hurrigan's on 88, solid silver with distinction. Take it away, Adam.
I want to reward the photographer here for showing the strength within something that's, it would be obviously an unusual vantage point because of the obvious foreshortening of the limbs here. But we're talking about para standing. I feel like it shows us the angle that we could only see this, the strength, because there's real strength across the shoulders. There's concentration, and you get to see how they hold that racket, and yet we still see a really well constructed tennis image. We sort of see the line going through it. All the lines are straight, and we get all that nice texture. But it's that strength from the feet right through to the arms when you sort of, I feel like there's a coil or something that's going on. I'm not sure how they would actually hit the ball. And I feel like this is the best way of explaining it. It's not something you would see from a courtside viewpoint or even from the crowd viewpoint unless you're right over the top. So the photographers found this angle that really illustrates this sport to the absolute peak of its ability. And I'd love to see it get a few more points just for the originality and the way they're really showcasing this sport.
Thanks, Adam. Matt, you were on 78 midway through, highly commended.
Yeah, this is what I love about panel judging, because I found the angle was what was actually holding me back. So maybe that gives you a better chance to even talk me up, perhaps, in your counter argument. What I would have loved to have seen in terms of raising this image up for me is perhaps a little bit more side profile of the athlete's face, or something that I can connect to a little bit more. Because while I really appreciate that the photographer is covering the sport and differently abled athletes, which is fantastic, I feel like this image is just kind of highlighting that rather than celebrating the athlete themselves, perhaps. And that's coming from the angle that they've been able to shoot from, which of course is not necessarily something that they can choose.
All right, thanks, Matt. Scott, you were right on the average on 81 for this one.
Yeah, I was at 81, and I agree with both Adam and Matt on this. I think this is the gentleman that's probably been told his entire life he can't do something, and he's out there doing it. So, and I think this is he's going to absolutely adore this image. For me, what stopped it going a little bit, me going a little bit higher, sorry, there's some highlights on the bottom of the short and the ball, and I just actually think a tighter crop here to remove the white baseline there would have really helped. Just coming ever so slightly, but I'm at 81. I'm not a million miles away, Adam. So you haven't got a lot of work to do there. So I'm listening.
Thanks, Scott. Adam, back to you.
Yeah, I must admit, when I first saw the image, I kind of wondered how it all worked from a mechanical point of view. And the more I look at it, I feel like there's not going to be a lot of movement in the actual racket. So there's that, it's a very short, sharp movement. And so it feels awkward because I guess it is, but there's still such a strength. To address, Scott, what you said about the space, I feel again that kind of gives an idea that, there's a lot of space that this guy has to hit a ball with not much of a swing and not much, he has to generate all this power and make it go such a long way. And perhaps it just gives that bit of a context of the amount of space that we're playing still on a massive tennis court here. It's not sort of reduced or anything like that. It gives that sense of space. I just think it's, of all the ways I can think of where I would stand to photograph this sport, I feel like this showcases the strength of the player. It shows that sort of point of impact that we get. We always talk about the line of the eyes, the ball, the racket is all there. It's not in the traditional way that's coming out towards us, but it really gives an energy from the bottom of that super strong leg, which perhaps is the juxtaposition here, right through and gives an energy through the frame. I'd love it to, I'm in silver distinction, but I'd love it to get up in at least a few more points.
All right, thanks, Adam. Adam's going to keep his score at 88. Everyone else is invited to rescore now, please. And we have moved a couple of points up to 83. Solid silver award, and great discussion as always, team. Scott, you can have a little break, and let's bring Matthew Vasilescu back onto the panel for our next image, please, Daniel.
When all the planets align. Image of Novak Djokovic during the 2026 Australian Open.
We have an initial score of 87, silver with distinction, and Adam Horrigan's up on 93 in the gold range. Adam, challenge is all yours.
I think what we're always looking for sometimes in sport is, we talk about decisive moments, but we're also looking for the art, and this is the high art of sport. And there'll be 1,000 photos of Novak Djokovic taken, and the great thing about this image too, with that little tiny bit of detail, and even just the pose, because it is the seminal moment of his service action. Anybody that knows tennis probably doesn't need the caption to know who this is. It's just that line just leads so wonderfully. And everything's placed really well in the frame. There's no distractions. You can tell he's a tennis player. You can tell it's Novak. That as an art piece, even for the Australian Open, you've got that nice little logo on the ball that's so beautifully rendered up there. Your eye just gets led straight through this frame. I don't have to tell you this. You can see all this sort of stuff, but I feel like this is the breath before it's that point of stillness just before he explodes into action. As a tennis fan, I could probably even make a story that, perhaps Novak is going into the shadows of his career and say something that's a bit of a story like that. It gives editors so much, wonder, he's still shining a little, he's doing okay, but not as well as he was. There's so many stories that it's just a beautiful piece of color harmony, that blue and that yellow. Just run through the frame, and there's just enough in everything else to give me context and give me just a stunning art piece. I'd love to see it up into gold.
Thanks, Adam. Emily, you were in the silver range for this one on the other end of the scale.
Yeah, it is an award image. It is something that would stand beautifully in a sport piece. It would be an editor's dream. There was just a few things that were holding me back. Like, I'm conflicted. Do I want to see his expression? Do I not want to see his expression? The ball, we know it's a tennis, like there's a few things that are just pulling me away. And I think gold is possibly going too far for me. Just on some of that sort of, it feels like mutedness within his face. And within, we know who it is. Like you were saying, do we need to see the eyes I'm conflicted.
Thanks, Emily. Matt Palmer, you were super close to the average on 86.
Yeah, I was actually rewarding the treatment of the shadow area and the on my ASO, I can see the detail in his face, despite the fact that it is so dark. Even the way his lips are like slightly parted, as if he's concentrating everything on the serve. The one thing that held me back, and that I'm hoping maybe Adam can address, is in a gold image, I'm kind of looking for that confidently original or emotionally powerful, and I'm kind of needing one or the other to get me into that gold range. I'm sure, like you've probably seen a number of these kind of serving shots now, and when the light is coming through the stadium the right way, that does create these beautiful triangles of light, and they, great tennis photographers are using that to create these amazing serving shots. So if I can get just a little bit more originality out of it, then certainly everything else says gold. It's just those two things I'm stuck on.
Right. Thanks, Matt. Matthew, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I'll maybe talk about the emotion then, Matt, because Djokovic is known for both of his emotions, his explosive and reactive emotion to line calls and his opponents, but then also cool, calm, and very collected and very, very decisive. And I think exactly as Adam has said, this is the breath as that ball is right at the peak of the top and his eyes are looking directly at it. And it's that really cool, decisive emotion that he's got, that he knows exactly the job that's in front of him. He's trained this serve. He knows this serve. People have copied this serve. Alcaraz has copied this serve in the last 18 months or so and completely changed his serve. That is now Djokovic's serve. So it's all of those moments that lead us into that range of a gold award.
Thanks, Matthew. We're talking gold. James, did you have anything you want to add?
Nothing really more than the fellow judges have had to offer. I understand the celestial intent of this ball acting as almost like a moonrise over the Earth's surface in outer space, which sort of gives it that elevated approach. And then I was stuck because I didn't really. I felt the tennis racket and the way it was being held was slightly lost at the bottom of the frame, and I felt the arm position of the serving arm in silhouette didn't lend itself naturally to something that was conventionally pleasing. But I am listening, and I'm right in the middle of that silver in distinction. I'm willing to nudge accordingly.
Thanks, James. Adam, back to you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the comments, everybody. To address them, I think, James, when I'm sure there's going to be multiple statues of Novak Djokovic constructed around the world because of him, I reckon this is almost what he'll look like. Because as Matthew said, this is the Novak serve. It's been part of his game, and it's that pose. He just sort of leans into it and leans back and kind of puts his arms to the sky and then just explodes. And I feel like this is the peak of that moment. Matt, I put it into gold for that control because, yes, I have seen lots of straight silhouette shots where there's lots of opportunities to get these silhouettes. It's that handling of that. So we can still see the racket and we know it's there and we see his expression, and it's been really well handled. It hasn't shifted or it hasn't broken down in the image as we can often see in these when we're trying to pull back that shadow detail. And it's just the construction of the image, the way it leans over to the right, and we feel that energy coming from that little, and perhaps it's a metaphor for his serve, that it comes from that little piece of energy and just explodes out to the right hand side of that image. I just think the construction and everything is worthy of a gold award. I've got it right in the middle of gold there.
Thank you, Adam. Adam's going to keep his score at 93. Everyone else can rescore now, please. Good work, team. 90 gold award. Excellent outcome for the photographer too. Really good discussion. And that is our final image tonight for the sport category. That was incredible, guys. Really, really good teamwork. I think everyone at home is probably going to agree that there's a lot of expertise on the panel, and you used it to give such great feedback and such great advice. So thank you for your hard work, everyone. Now, if you've been enjoying this judging, thank you for tuning in to see some excellence in photography. If you want to see some more, we're back tomorrow night with the family judging at the same time. This weekend, we've got creative portrait, photographic artist, and commercial as well. So if you want to know any of the times you can go to the Australian Photographic Prize homepage, and there's links to the YouTube scores or streams as well. If you want to find out who wins the sport category, you've got to tune into our awards ceremony on Thursday, the 13th of August. So be there. Now, thank you to all of our entrants. Thank you, Daniel, for a whole lot of work making sure everything was running smoothly. Nathan for our broadcast producer. And a huge thank you to our panel of judges. I want to thank Adam Horrigan, Emily Black, James Musselwhite from the UK, Matt Palmer, Matthew Vasilescu, and Scott Johnson from the UK. And Christopher Ian, who is now watching this at home, who was going to be on the panel. I'm sure he's pretty proud of the job that you guys did. You represented sport really well. My name's Chris Anderson. I hope you've had a really good night, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.
Wow, photographing the way I do, but with my colors, this will change everything.
I got to see each frame, each position of its wing, and they're so beautiful that I have never seen before.
Being able to move quickly and working at my brain's pace and getting those shots in the moment. Having this camera allows you to go out and create the way you want to create.
Until you use it, you cannot even imagine what you have missed.
It's something I've never seen before in my entire life. It's something totally different.
Nikon Z6 III. Outperform.
Introducing ISO Color Edge. Precision is essential for any professional working with images. Whether you're an artist, a retoucher, or a visual effects specialist, you need to know that what you see at the start of a project is precisely what you'll get at the end. Color Edge monitors give consistent, reliable accuracy that guarantee no surprises within your color workflow. So what you see in real life is what you see on screen, and what you see on screen is what you see in real life. That's precisely why professionals all over the world trust ISO Color Edge for their image creation. ISO Color Edge. Discover living, breathing color.
I'm Mark Rosetto from the Professional Photography Business Network.
A vibrant community from all around the world who's here to supercharge your business growth.
This is not an expensive one-size-fits-all course.
The PPBN is a network,
An online educational platform with training and resources to suit everyone.
from those just starting out to the seasoned pros.
You can tailor your journey to suit your individual business needs and challenges, all at your own pace.
And there's new content added every week. But success is only part of the experience.
To us, community is super important as we all know business can be lonely.
So join us today. PPBN is your unfair advantage. Let's do this.